29 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. If you're anything like me, when I purchase a book, there are two things I do. I read the back of the book and then I read the first paragraph of the book. And so when we read the back of this book, it said all his life, Ernie knew he was different. With lots of friends around him, life was good. There was always something to eat, always a place to sleep, and when bored, there was always a group of friends with which he could play. Ernie had it made, or so it seemed. Day after day, the same routine took place: eat, drink, sleep, play. And with the sun shining brightly and the moon shining down, what else could one ask for? Well, one day he realized that things had changed. Those are the words of the author of this book called Ernie the Insect. His name is Dennis Sobers. Good morning to you, Dennis.
Good morning, Chris. And good morning, Barbados. How are you?
It is
yes.
you. You know, I saw the name.
Who am I?
Brother, good morning.
Good morning.
I saw the name and I thought there must be a different Dennis Sobers because I didn't know that you would write.
Yes, I've been writing from the time I was 16 years old.
Oh, that's last week.
You know.
So tell me a little bit about Ernie the Insect. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I have my children when they were born, and I wanted to get closer to them. And so I decided to write the stories because the stories were very good in terms of letting persons know and see things differently. And I like to write poetry, and the story is a beautiful story, but it was also allowing me to be able to speak to other people as well. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you the full story is I raised my children, me and my wife, and we wanted to make sure that they were also kept into loop as to what is right and what is wrong when it comes from moral issues. But then when it came to going to school, it was going to be very difficult to be able to be inside the school. So Ernie the Insect came about when I wrote for them, but then I realized that Mr. Watson from Roland Edwards, he was very interested in hearing me read the stories also for the children. And so they started from there, and then from there went to the public library in Speightstown, then Speightstown, Sealer Primary, and before you know it, I was on a circuit reading this one story. But the overall point of this whole story was this. It was allowing me to be able to keep my eyes on my children, to help them, to keep putting whatever I put in them to stay in there, despite the fact that they go to school. I wanted to make sure that they were well-rounded.
You said the publication is about the discovery of hidden talents, and I could agree with that. You know, when you think about it, so many times we grow up as little people and we're not even aware that we have so much within us to do and to give as well. So how does this insect, right through the book, play out and show us that we all have hidden talents?
Yes, that's the beautiful part. When I read the story to many children, first thing I ask them, how many of you want to be doctors? And they all raise, I want to be. How many want to be lawyers? How many of you want to be nurses? But then I ask a question, how many of you want to be garbage people? Picking up the garbage. Say, nah, I don't want to do that. It's nasty. But then when I explain to them that without the persons picking up the trash, then there will be roaches and mice and rats and so on. And they come to appreciate that even though they may not see them as important, they also has a serious role to play in the lives of us as individuals. And that helped them. So the story was the same way as well. Ernie, he didn't know what he was. He had no idea, but it took time for him to develop those talents in order for him to be useful at the end of the story.
And useful indeed, because all of us play a part in the grander scheme of things. And so we need to recognize what our responsibilities are as we go as well. And it's written in the way that allows a child to be able to see themselves through the work of Ernie the Insect. And so how many novels, how many of the Ernie the Insect's books have you written?
Well, Ernie the Insect was just the first. And then my wife and I realized Ernie the Insect, with all those other insects that are part of that story, they all have a different quality and a different talent that is within them. So there's Ernie the Insect, there's Willie the Worm that has their own story, there is Billy Bee, there's Cammy Caterpillar. And so it's really a series where they all interact with each other even throughout the stories. So Ernie the Insect story has friends, and their friends also have their story to tell, which is also include Ernie the Insect throughout. So it's all a series of different publications or different books that were all gathered together as one.
I find it interesting how people can just string words together, sentences, and make a book. At some point it comes to an end, you know, but here it is, you're able now to take a thought and develop it right through every page to a conclusion, and it's enough to form a book. How do you do that? Well,
I tell you where it started for me. It started in 1972. And it happened when I was going to the Kingdom Hall in Spontebelle. Chauffette had just started, and I was around 3 years old, and they had this beautiful little plate outside the window, and it had a poem there. And the poem stated, friendship is a golden chain that brings two friends together. And if you were to break a link, we won't be friends forever. Now, I was 3 years old. I had no idea why I still have that in my mind. But I saw the image of the two birds at the sides, and they were holding this golden chain. And that helped me to see that one picture, that one poem, those four lines, or that few stanzas of that line, helped me to remember that up to this day. Children today have that same perspective. They're not. You can't read just to them. You need to make it live. And so Ernie the Insect was a publication that helped them to visualize and to see it. And even up to this day, when children see me, they don't know my name, but they remember, you're the man, Mr. Ernie the Insect, because they remember the story. And this is how young people today work. They're visually impaired or visually adhere to what they see and what they hear, and they remember it. And that's the reason why I did with Ernie the Insect. And I've developed this, I guess, talent, if you want to call it that, throughout the last 4 years. And it's now time to basically show persons and help parents to be able to teach and talk to their children and to read to them so that they can remember and to put the ideas that they want to put inside them through the written words of the paragraphs.
Children learn in so many different ways as well, pictorially. Is the book also embedded with images and that kind of that stimulate that side of the brain?
Yes, it is. And the beautiful part about it, interesting part about it, I should say, is that when I read the stories, the teachers that were there, they want to know, why are you not published? Where can I get this book?
Yes.
And the reason is because I didn't have a publisher, or not only a publisher, I didn't have an illustrator. And because I didn't know how to illustrate myself, I started playing around with art. So I've developed another art form out of that altogether. But I'm still looking for the right illustrators to make this story come alive. And so the pictures are very important, but I treat my poems or my work as a part of my family. I want to make sure that wherever it goes, it is ready and it is ripe and is ready to do what it needs to be done.
Wow, there's a part of it that reads, he saw Willie Worm moving into the ground. He yelled, "What's up, Willie?" In his funny insect sound, Willie said, "Don't bother me, Ernie. I don't mean to shout. There's so much work to do, or the sun will dry me out." Ernie said, "Just one quick question, please, before I go. You live in the wet. Why? I really want to know." "It's a job that I love. I help plants grow each day. I give these plants a hope, so now please go away." Ernie looked at himself and started to cry. "I can't help plants grow, so what good am I?" Wow. Now that in itself,
good.
Yeah, I love recitations. You know, but that in itself is such a poignant point when a child walks away thinking that he has been dismissed and feeling as though you have no purpose. And so the book, through Ernie the Insect, shows that every one of you, every person has purpose, from child right up to adulthood.
I love that part as well. I remember when I read that poem or that story to a school that had a number of the youngsters that were disabled and so on. And I was trying to help them to see, you know what, despite the fact that you may not be able to get up and run out of the wheelchair at this time, you still have a purpose. You can do a lot more when the time comes. But right now, it may be not right now, but you can still pay attention, learn from your teachers, take in as much information as possible, and when the time is right, just like Ernie the Insect, you will make your purpose. The worm knew what he had to do. The ant knew what he had to do. Ernie did not know what he had to do until the right time. And in the end of the story, it blows the mind of individuals to say, wow, you have a purpose. I have one too when I think about this going forward.
Good. So we're back to the question, where can we get copies of the book? Dennis?
Well, I'm trying my best to get it properly illustrated still. It's almost there. And I'm also looking for that one publisher who will do a children's book. In Barbados, it was very difficult. It is difficult. So here I am in the process of looking for someone up here in the States to be able to push it, because really and truly it's growing. Not just are we looking at it from a Barbadian point of view, because I've also written Ernie the Insect in Bajan style, and it's one of these days where you hear it, it's lovely. But also other persons around the world should be able to. They want to hear this as well.
So very soon we'll get a copy of it in our hands, and very soon we
Very
can all
much so.
enjoy the Ernie the Insect story and the other follows on that would come as a consequence of the story as well. We can't wait to hear more from you, Dennis. And again, my eyes are wide open because I'm surprised. I'm truly, truly surprised. Didn't know this bit about you, but it's good to know that this is who you are as well. And best, as again, I know as the opportunities present themselves, you will do well with those opportunities.
Thank you very much. And there's a lot more to learn about me. One of these days, we'll sit down and talk. There's
Yes,
a
we
lot
shall.
more. But until then, I trust my God will make sure that things work out accordingly. So thank you very much for having me as well.
You're very welcome, Dennis Sobers. Thank you so much. Dennis is the author of the book, Ernie the Insect. Look out for it. It's going to come to you real soon, and you'll get to enjoy it just as much as I've gotten to enjoy reading excerpts from it as well. We'll take a break right here on Morning Barbados, and we're back with more.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.